This explains everything as Aaron Glenn speaks out on why exactly the New York Jets recently made a move to acquire a new player from another team in the AFC. And we got to break it all down. What's up, guys? I'm Matt Long. Welcome to Jets Digest. Let's jump right into the news for today. Aaron Glenn. Before we talk about Aaron Glenn, if you didn't see it, just yesterday, the New York Jets traded for Jarvis Brownlee, a cornerback from the Tennessee Titans. Only gave up day 3 draft capital, so not the biggest thing in the world. Jarvis Brownlee was a 2024 fifth round pick out of the University of Louisville, and he's someone who talked to Aaron Glenn in the pre-draft process. And what Aaron Glenn had to say of this player recently, Glenn praised Brownlee for being a player who matches the Jets' style of play. Glenn said, he's a guy who we looked at coming out of Louisville. He's aggressive, he's a hard worker, he plays the brand of football that we believe in, so it was a no-brainer as far as bringing him onto the team. Now, more words being said about this trade coming from Brownlee himself. He said, I take a lot of pride in that regarding his tackling. They say there's not a lot of corners in the NFL that love to hit or likes contact. Me, I'm a different breed. I just love hitting. I love making the opponent feel me. The New York Jets acquired Brownlee alongside a 2026 7th round pick in exchange for a 2026 6th round pick. So the New York Jets do not give up too much, just a late round pick swap, and pick up a highly physical corner, someone who fits the mold of what this defense is going to be going forwards. We know Aaron Glenn, he wants all of his, especially defensive backs, being an ex-defensive back himself, to be as physical as possible. Sauce Gardner, over the first couple years of his NFL career, has been a little bit soft in the physicality department, and whatever your top guys are doing, that is the type of mentality that will leak down into the rest of the team. What your leaders are doing, how they play, that's going to rub off. So if your top corner is soft, the rest of your cornerback room is going to be soft. This season, we heard a bunch of other NFL executives and GMs. They were saying, I can't believe how physical Aaron Glenn has Sauce Gardner playing. And now this is just another player who's going to be extremely physical. Jarvis Brownlee also coming over with a bit of a chip on his shoulder, according to New York Jets insider Rich Cimini. Quarterback Jarvis Brownlee Jr. says he was surprised and hurt that the Tennessee Titans traded him, but he's happy to be with the New York Jets. He says he established a relationship with Aaron Glenn in the pre-draft process. So last season, or 2024 season, is when Brownlee was drafted. So of course, Aaron Glenn was still with the Detroit Lions as the defensive coordinator when he made this connection with this player. And that matters a lot because when you're the defensive coordinator, you have you are one of the top guys when it comes to determining what players are going to be put onto that defense. So Aaron Glenn, of course, is going to be interviewing and talking to prospects that the Detroit Lions are going to be interested in when it's going on to the NFL draft. If we want to take a look at what Brownlee has done so far in his career, of course, it's not that much. We shouldn't really be expecting his stats to be that impressive. He was a 2024 5th overall draft pick, and just 1 year later, he's being traded along with a 7th round pick for a 6th round pick. So not the most successful 5th round pick in the world, but taking a look at his stats in his rookie year, 75 combined tackles, which is pretty solid for a cornerback. 29 assisted tackles, 1 interception, returned for 2 yards. This season, he was on the Titans for, only a couple games. So 17 tackles, which is a little bit high for the amount of time. Only 3 games played with the Tennessee Titans this season. But another thing that Brownlee has the ability to do for the New York Jets is to take the football away. You can see he had an interception last year. You may say 1 interception isn't that much, but the top cornerbacks for the New York Jets also struggle to get interceptions, or they don't also struggle. They struggle to get interceptions. Jarvis Brownlee is someone who made an interception last year, and hopefully he's able to rub off on the New York Jets defensive backs and teach them how to catch the football through 3 games. If you can believe it, the New York Jets defense has not forced a single takeaway. Week 1, a takeaway was the most important thing. I mean, a blocked field goal, I am 99% sure that is not a fumble. So if that's not a fumble, they haven't forced a takeaway. But I'm actually not 1,000% sure on that. Only 99% sure that a blocked field goal is a blocked field goal, not a forced fumble on top of a blocked field goal. But speaking of the rest of the New York Jets roster, especially at the cornerback position, it always makes sense whenever you add or take away a player in the room. It makes sense to take in the entire room as a whole and just figure out where we are depth chart wise, which is why the depth chart is currently on the screen. When it is ESPN's depth chart, they take into account snap counts and news, and they put together the most accurate depth chart that they can. And when they look at snap counts, unfortunately, they have Azariah Thomas labeled as the New York Jets cornerback 5, slotting in after Jarvis Brownlee. So that's disappointing for Jets fans. They were looking for Azariah Thomas to do something this season. The 3rd round pick out of Florida State still has plenty of time to develop in the NFL, but you'd like to see at least a little glimmer of hope in his rookie year, because most players that turn into the top NFL players, their rookie year doesn't have to be amazing, but they should do more than absolutely nothing. So it's a little bit concerning, the lack of snaps and the lack of this action that Azariah Thomas is getting. Haven't heard a whole lot about him or really anything about him from training camp. Early on in training camp, we heard the pretty much obligatory, you're a top 3 pick. People are going to say something good about you. Unless you're Trey Harris with the LA Chargers, people are going to say something good about you. Azariah Thomas had people saying good stuff about him, but now 3 weeks into the season, all that feel good of the offseason is gone. It's about what is actually going on, not what you hope is going on or what could be going on or should be going on. It's about what's actually going on. And what's actually going on is Azariah Thomas is currently not living up to expectations of what he really could have been as a rookie. So Jarvis Brownlee is going to step up behind as that right cornerback behind Brandon Stephens. Sauce Gardner, of course, is always going to be our cornerback 1 as long as he is on this depth chart. Brandon Stephens, myself included, and I know a lot of Jets fans, pretty much every Jet fan that I've talked to so far has been extremely, extremely disappointed with the way he has played so far. Calvin Austin Jr., who's 5'8" out of Memphis, he was able to head top Brandon Stephens in week 1, and Brandon Stephens really hasn't looked so much better through the next 2 weeks. He's got to step up. I always talk about how Ravens fans were so excited to get rid of him, which I thought was a stark contrast from what is usually going on with New York Jets acquisitions. Usually, we pick up a guy and everyone goes, wow, he's the savior, hand him the keys to the franchise. When we got Brandon Stephens, there was rumbling. People kind of knew that, he wasn't the best cornerback in the world, but we said he's tall, he's athletic, maybe he's going to move to safety. Give Aaron Glenn some time to figure out what he is doing with Brandon Stephens. The signings in the offseason, most of them were 1-year deals. We got the Justin Fields 2-year deal, but Brandon Stephens was the only guy who got a 3-year contract extension, which means he was not just signed for this year with the New York Jets. He didn't get a prove-it deal the way most of those other players, those free agents who were signed got. Brandon Stephens got a real deal contract with the New York Jets. He was expected to contribute this season, the next season, and the season after that. Right now, it's looking really, really bad. It's looking like one of our worst contracts on our roster. And you can't even say, I used the word disappointing earlier, but really most Ravens fans and Jets fans who took a look at this guy and Ravens fans who watch him every Sunday, they're saying, like, the guy just isn't all that good. And I, unfortunately, at this moment in time, have to agree with them. Although one of the main things that Ravens fans were saying was Brandon Stephens, this guy got mossed and, got beaten back and forth by Jamar Chase, but Jamar Chase beats absolutely everybody. So I can't hold that against Brandon Stephens. I need a better reason than that. But what we've seen so far, Calvin Austin, who has not really been able to break out in the NFL. I believe this is his 4th year. He came out the same year that Garrett Wilson came out. So yeah, 2022, 3, 4, 5. This is his 4th year out of Memphis. Hasn't broken out in the first 3. Really shouldn't be catching the ball on top of your head in Brandon Stephens. It will be interesting to see if Brandon Stephens is going to make that move to safety that fans are projecting. Haven't heard that from a coaching perspective, haven't heard that from a news perspective, but it's easy to see with the height and the long arms. It is pretty easy to see why Brandon Stephens would be an ideal candidate to move to safety, a position where the New York Jets, in the very recent history, ever since the departure of Jamal Adams and Marcus May, that we've been pretty weak at the safety position. Tony Adams also coming in with an injury diagnosis for Monday Night Football versus the Miami Dolphins. Although maybe Stevens doesn't get to move to safety. If he doesn't, absolutely love what I've seen from Malachi Moore. I think that guy was a steal in the draft when we selected him in the 4th round out of Alabama. One last thing that has to be mentioned, our current defensive coordinator, Stephen Wilkes, loves to blitz nickelbacks. He loves to, blitz corners, blitz crazy players. And if you are a cornerback who is a highly physical player, that makes you perfect for a cat blitz, which is a corner blitz, and you're going to be coming off the edge, getting an opportunity to get after some of these great quarterbacks that are unfortunately on the New York Jets schedule. Would love to see the schedule be as easy as possible to rack up some wins, but that's not where our cards were dealt this season. We're going to be facing some very strong quarterbacks, and we're going to need physical cornerbacks to line up in the nickel and blitz, or even line up outside, blitz, sack them, bring them down, put them in 3rd and long, just figure out everything that we can do. So, that's what I got for this video. If you stuck around this long, thank you for watching. Hit that subscribe button if you're new to the channel. Hit the like button if you haven't already, and go Jets.